I think I like Star Wars.
The Bad Batch starring D. Bradley Baker, D. Bradley Baker, D. Bradley Baker, and D. Bradley Baker is an elite and experimental clone force that is making their way through an ever-changing galaxy. Now, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan based off the intro. I spent over $700 on a UCS Venator, and I will never be picking it up again because that was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've done in my life. Star Wars The Clone Wars is one of, if not my favorite TV show of all time. It is what got me into Star Wars. It is what made me love Star Wars so much, was Star Wars The Clone Wars. I grew up on that show. I cannot emphasize how much I love that show. So any form of Star Wars animation I'm going to probably inherently like. I'm big fan of Rebels. There's a lot of Rebels episodes that I absolutely love and think are some of the best Star Wars content ever put out. I think that the last 4 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars are probably my favorite 4 episodes of anything Star Wars ever. So with that being said, I like Bad Batch. I think that there's a few episodes, specifically a lot more in Season 1 and Season 2, and this is just a review of Season 3 because it just ended, but I think that there's a lot of episodes in those seasons that are really filler, because with Clone Wars you can make the argument when you put it in chronological order, there really aren't too many, if any, filler episodes whatsoever. With Bad Batch, there's definitely a lot of filler episodes in those first 2 seasons, and I think that the 3rd season really didn't have that issue too much. There wasn't any episodes that I skipped, whereas in the first 2 seasons there were a few episodes where I was like, I really don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. Like it, and I didn't end up missing anything outside of maybe a few character moments. And I haven't really done that with any Star Wars show. So for Bad Batch Season 3 to really hit on every single episode and deliver a very, very, very concise, clear, and good story was a really good thing to see. And I'm happy to report that I really, really, really enjoyed this season. Have a few minor gripes, and it didn't live up to all the expectations that I had for it. I had a very good time with this season, specifically with Omega. Her character growth is insanely good. She is the classic Dave Filoni character. Starts off annoying, you don't like her, you really just hate any screen time that she has in Season 1, and then by the end of Season 3, you absolutely love her, you're rooting for her. She's grown and matured so much as a character, and that's just how Dave Filoni writes characters. I know that he took a bit of a backseat creatively while making this because he's been working on so many other Mandalorian bullshit. Yeah, but Omega's growth as a character was so nice to see throughout this entire show. Her relationship with Crosshair, her willingness to never give up on him, specifically in those first 3 episodes where they break out, that was so well done, so well executed. And really this 3rd season, and a lot of Clone Wars and a lot of what Star Wars animation is, it's not for kids. There's a lot of really heavy topics that are really well discussed and really well thought out throughout just these 22 episodes of animated television. It's fantastic how well they're able to tackle all of these themes in this short amount of time. Like when Crosshair and Omega were talking about Betcha, dog, animal-like creature that Omega befriends, and how she basically domesticates him, and Crosshair's like, you just killed it, because if it ever goes out into the wild again, it's going to get completely destroyed. Just little moments like that, just the banter between Crosshair and Hunter, and how they have such a big distrust for each other, and Omega being the voice of reason. It's just a very good character-driven show, and D. Bradley Baker's voice work throughout this entire show for literally almost the entire cast is fantastic. Like, this show is D. Bradley Baker and like maybe 5 or 6 other voice actors. He's putting in the majority of the work for this show, and he does a fantastic job at delivering so many fleshed out, very good, distinct characters, and I cannot thank him enough for giving so many clones so many personalities. And that's seen specifically in the episodes where Rex shows back up, and you have that clone versus clone where the Bad Batch, they do a mission with Rex, and then you have that final showdown between 2 sets of clones, and the clones that are still working for the Empire just let them go. It's so beautifully done, and just the relationship between these clones. And I love every single episode where it's just these clones going back and forth against one another, and it's just so satisfying to see their inhibitor chips just wear off and go back to the clones and go back to the people that they used to be. I really like the Ventress episodes where she tries to train Omega and we see who Ventress is and what she's become. I don't think that those are really big fan servicey moments. It's just really nice to see where Ventress is at. I'm going to get into some spoilers about the finale, so bear warning before that. I wasn't the biggest fan of the finale. I was really expecting somebody else to die like Tech did at the end of season 2. I thought that his death was fantastic. I kind of went into this last episode with how they set it up with Wrecker going into it. It really hurt Crosshair having his hand tick and just his complete turn back to really caring about Omega, and then Hunter, just the parental figure. If Omega lost him, it would just be devastating. But I was really expecting one of them to go out, and for one of them to not go out is very Dave Filoni. Him just not killing anybody off is, again, it's just very Dave Filoni of him to not kill off any of his characters whatsoever. So I'm not too surprised, but I was a little bit let down because it felt like at least one of them should have gone out, and there should have been that loss, and you should have felt that emotional weight. And there still is a lot of really good emotional moments throughout this last episode, but the stakes didn't live up to what they were building towards. So as a finale for the entire show, I was a little bit disappointed, but it gives you satisfying conclusions for the characters. Omega goes off and she's a fighter for the rebellion, and then Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker just kind of retire and say, look, we're done. We've had enough of this and I honestly can't blame them for just retiring and letting themselves go and chill out on that little island. So I don't have too much more to add about the Bad Batch. I really enjoyed it. I'd give it a solid 3.5, 4 stars. Just as a series overall, I'd give it a 3.5. It's a really good continuation of Clone Wars, seeing the Bad Batch in the Empire, getting to keep up with some other clones, getting to see Rex in between what he does there and then with Rebels. I will never say no to Star Wars animation. It's some of my favorite content. For Tales of the Empire to come out, I think on May 3rd or May 4th, later this weekend, I will be binge watching all of that. I'll probably do a review for it as well because I just love Star Wars animation. It's some of my favorite. It's really hard for Star Wars to screw it up. Live action's a completely different story, but let me know what you thought of Bad Batch Season 3 down in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Make sure to follow us over on Twitter and follow me over on my Letterboxd down in the description below, and we will see you in the next movie review.